Good afternoon. This is Terry from the Frugal Connection. It is the season for apples. I actually went out and got a half bushel of apples the other day. So one of the things that I did this morning was I made some applesauce with them, unsweetened applesauce, because I use a lot of that in my cooking. So it's a great oil replacer in baked goods. And since I eat plant-based whole food and I don't eat sugar, processed sugar or oil, I wanted to have some applesauce on hand so that it's not just always bananas, because sometimes I don't want the banana flavor and things. So today what I want to do is make an apple cake. So what I'm going to start with is I need to get some oat flour, and so to my high-speed blender I have added rolled oats. Basically I did 2 2/3 cups, and I'm going to start with that and see if I can get it down to 2 cups. Well, let's start with this and see what we get. I'm making this up as I go. I had to do some finagling here, but I got it in the bowl. It's 2.5 cups of oat flour. And to this, I am going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves. And I love the smell of all those fall scents. It's just such a great smell. All right, so I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm going to pull out my KitchenAid mixer here. Okay. This thing has served me well. I have had this since 2009. It was actually gifted to me. Somebody found it in a yard sale and gave it to me, and other than having to patch up the cord, it works great still. I can't see spending money on something when this one works perfectly well. And what I'm going to do now is put all my wet ingredients in here. So I have 2 cups of applesauce, which I'm going to pour in here. I have 2 flax eggs, which I'm also going to add. I have a 1/2 cup of date syrup. Now you can also use maple syrup. The reason I'm using date syrup is I kind of like to use just the fruit if possible. And date syrup is just dates and water, and it's really something you can make in your own kitchen. I don't at the moment. I just I buy it from online. There's a company called Date Lady Date Syrup, and it's nothing but dates and water, and it works really, really well. So, all right, let me get these out of the way. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And that should do it. Okay. Now the flax egg that I put in there, it's 2 tablespoons of flax meal, ground flax meal, 6 tablespoons of water. That's your egg replacer in this, and I'm replacing 2 eggs in the recipe. And I'm going to give this a taste because it doesn't have raw egg. I can do that just to see if it's the right sweetness. So far, so good. I'll see what it's like after I get these oats mixed in. Now I mixed this on low, but I'm gonna turn it up to like a medium speed just to get it really well incorporated and make sure those oats really have mixed in and blended well. To this recipe, I'm also going to add a cup and a half of raisins. If you don't like raisins, just leave them out. So I'm going to throw those in there. And I'm also going to put in some chopped walnuts that I have here. I just chopped them and I have about a cup of those. And again, if you have a nut allergy or you don't want the walnuts, just leave them out of the recipe. All right, so I'm going to give this another quick stir. Okay, there we go. So what I have here is an 8x8 pan, and I have a piece of parchment paper that I just crinkled up. And the reason I do that is I don't want to use any oil in the pan. And if you crinkle up your parchment paper ahead of time, it's just a little trick. It'll stay in the pan better otherwise it's hard to keep it flat. All right. This smells so, so good. And let me just want to give it a little test. It's really good. And I don't think it needs any more sweetness because, it only has a half a cup of date syrup, but the raisins add extra sweetness as well. And then the apples were a little tart. They're Macintosh apples that I used to make the applesauce. And so they were a wee bit tart, but it tastes really good. So if this recipe comes out well, I am going to type it up. I'm going to put it on my website, thefrugalconnection.com. And I'll put the link down below, but if you go to my website and click on the blog, that's where I have a lot of these recipes. All right, and so I'm just going to smooth this down in the pan. Okay, I'm going to get all the last bit off of here. Now I did make my own oat flour by using the high-speed blender, and so there are a few little pieces of oats in there, but I think it's fine. It kind of goes well with the cake. So there you have it. It's applesauce. I would call it an apple walnut cake. So it has applesauce, walnuts, raisins. Super easy to put together. This I'm going to put in the oven, and because this is the first time, I kind of made it up as I went along. I'm going to put it in the oven for about 30 minutes, but I will keep checking on it after about 20 minutes, and I will meet you back here when it's done. Friends, I wanted to mention one other thing. Rather than waste all those apple scraps, like I peeled and cut up probably half of the apples that I got the other day. And so I had a big bowl full of scraps. And you can make apple cider vinegar from the scraps of apples. So what I did was I took this jar, it's the only one I had around that would work. I need to get a half-gallon glass jar. But I used this one, and I filled it halfway full with the peelings of apples after I washed them. I did wash them. And then I filled the rest of the jar with water, and I put in a tablespoon of raw honey and gave it a really good mix. And now all I do is you want to make sure that your apple scraps stay under the water, because otherwise they start to go moldy, and you don't want moldy. So if you have a weight, that's ideal. I just don't have one, but I had this jar, which works. and I cover it. Now you want it to get some air because you want the fermentation to start. We're making apple cider vinegar. And so how you do that, you can either put a cloth over it, and because I don't want to seal it all the way and it's this type of jar, I'm just putting this cloth over it and just keeping it down. You want to put cloth on it because you don't want fruit flies, you don't want other creepy crawlies in it. And now you put it in a cool, dry place, a dark place for 2 weeks. I have a cupboard, a pie cupboard that I will use and put it in there. And after 2 weeks, you're going to strain out all the scraps and then cover it up again, stick it back in there for another 4 to 6 weeks, and it turns into vinegar. And after that, if it forms what's called a mother on the top, which is this floating gelatinous thing, you can use that, add it to more scraps, more water, and make more vinegar. You don't have to add any honey after that or any, some people use sugar, but because I'm not using sugar, I used honey. So I just wanted to give you that little tip. It's apple scrap vinegar. When this is all said and done, it'll be nice and vinegary, and I can use it to cook with or for whatever I'm going to use it for. So it's a way to save some money, use up the scraps that you have on hand. You know, you can compost them, but rather than just throw them out or compost them, this is a great way to use your apple scraps. Okay? Okay, I'm back. I actually left it in the oven for 45 minutes. Okay, I took it out of the oven. It's been sitting on my on the cooling rack for 15 minutes or so. I probably should let it cool all the way before I cut into it, but I didn't. And to be honest, I love it. It smells amazing. It tastes really good. I think if I were to do anything different, I might use a different kind of flour. You know, oat flour does give it some denseness to it. But again, most spice cakes I find are not super, this is not going to be this fluffy cake like a white cake would be. Because first of all, I'm not using oil. I'm not using all-purpose flour and you know, granulated sugar or anything like that. But this is so delicious, and I really, really like it. And the spices are just this wonderful fall smell in this house. The taste is that same way. I think it's the right amount of sweetness. You know, if you would like it a little sweeter, you might want to add some more date syrup to it, or you can get rid of the date syrup and use maple syrup instead. But I'm trying to keep it from all those really highly processed things. But I think this is a keeper. It's really good, and I hope you'll give it a try. And if you do, let me know what you think. I love everything fall. It's my favorite season of all time. So I hope you're having a great day. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. I will post this recipe on my website, thefrugalconnection.com. It's under the blog on there. And you can also find some of my recipes in my new book, Simple and Nutritious, which is 52 plant-based whole food recipes. And that's on Amazon, and I will put that link down below too. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you get to get out and enjoy this beautiful fall weather we've been having, and I will see you in the next video.